Thanks for joining us on this feature special of We Are Washington. It's a good chance to showcase all of the different things that we're doing on the show and take a moment to do something a little bit different, right?
And take a look back and kind of revisit some of our favorite stories that we've had recently.
We want to start off with one about the Kennedy Center. Everybody knows the Kennedy Center.
Of course.
Big changes have come to the Kennedy Center, and we had a chance to really go inside to learn more about what's happening, to see it up close.
I think people will be really surprised to see how much was going on and all the exciting new stuff.
For almost 50 years, the Kennedy Center has sat poised on the banks of the Potomac River, a beacon of artistic expression, performance, and culture. Now, for the first time in its 47-year history, the Kennedy Center is opening its first ever expansion, known as the Reach. To learn more, we caught up with the Kennedy Center's Vice President of Social Impact, Mark Balmuthi Joseph.
Why is it called the Reach?
In large part because of our namesake, John F. Kennedy, who often used that word in his speeches. Among the more famous of his speeches is the Moonshot speech, where he called for Americans to aspire to more, to reach literally to new and unprecedented heights.
What's here? What will people experience?
Experience is probably a better word than see, and I think that's intentional, right? So there's lots to see. There are new studios. We're here inside the Justice Forum, where folks might see the screening of an independent film, or folks might experience a talk with one of the Supreme Court justices. You might see the National Symphony Orchestra rehearsing, or the opera rehearsing. You might see a dance company. So there's lots to see, but there's more to do. And that's the biggest difference, I think, between what we've traditionally held and hosted inside the Stone Building, inside the formal building, and this campus expansion. The idea behind the Reach is that it is an architecture that promotes embodied inspiration. So it's not enough just to like see a dance class or see a dance performance. You should take a dance class, launch a ball of your own, or throw a salsa party of your own. The idea is that this is a space that fosters participation.
You're going to get a different experience on each side. So you'd see more in the original building, more of like the show up and see a performance, and you're more maybe part of the performance in a place like the Reach.
Yeah, so we've had a transactional model, as many arts institutions do, but what the 21st century calls for is less of a transactional model and more of kind of a co-laboratory, a space of collaboration, a space of cooperation, but also a place of implication. So I can go to the Kennedy Center right now and buy a ticket and bear witness, but we don't just want witnesses. We don't want to just stand by, either in the democratic sense or in the creative sense. We want to be implicated. We want to share the stakes of making this culture together. And that's what this building fosters.
In your role here, you probably experienced that sort of sentiment from a lot of people that you deal with, which is they want to be a part of what's going on, or they want to be a part of the experience rather than just, like you said, bear witness to it. So tell me a little bit about your role here and what you do and how you're fostering that.
Sweet, yeah. My full title is Vice President and Artistic Director of Social Impact, and it's important, I think, to name both sides of my title, because as a Vice President, I'm responsible for codifying our policies, naming our practices, naming our evaluation systems. But as Artistic Director, I find that a social practice is part of how I create in life. So I'm a poet, a writer, a choreographer, but I see curating community the same as someone else might curate jazz, or the same way that someone else might curate hip hop or dance. So my role here is to make sure that we have an ethical, coherent way of thinking about community-facing activity. But what we've been talking about is really the gig. It's a little bit more than making programs for people to watch. It's understanding community collaborations, and fostering space, events, and resources for folks to make this place their own.
What do you hope people will say about the reach and what it does and what the mission, and maybe it's how it's been fulfilled or how it's evolved, maybe 10 years after it's open and 10 years after it's been here, part of the Kennedy Center. How do you hope people will talk about this place or know this place?
I like that you said 10 years because, people tend to think of an opening as an opening day. But we're launching a culture here, and that's not going to take one day, it's not going to take 1 year, it might not even take 3 to 5 years. But this is going to be the place that we make. In time, it'll be a space that the people make, which is right in line with John F. Kennedy's language and symbolism to this country. And it's not going to be like some creative democracy that gets built up in the hills by giants somewhere. It's going to be the place that we make together.
Still to come, it's the dog days of summer reimagined at the National Building Museum.
I have a question for you. When you think of your front lawn, what comes to mind? Is it a place where you hang out in the summertime, maybe when the weather is nice, relax, spend time with family and friends? Well, the National Building Museum in Washington, D.C. is taking that experience and moving it from the front yard to inside their main hall. And that includes everything you need to relax, from the hammocks to the lawn chairs.
We invite visitors to experience a familiar setting in an unfamiliar space. Relaxing in a hammock, listening to crickets chirping and bees buzzing, playing a lawn game. These are all quintessential activities of summer.
The pros, you don't have to worry about the humidity and the heat. You don't have to mow it. But tell me about what some of the things are that people can do in here when they come and visit the lawn. Are there going to be any barbecues, anything like that? What sort of things do you imagine people to do when they get in here?
Well, the way we got to the lawn idea was thinking about what you could put in this space that, first of all, was an invitation. And as we started to think about that, what occurred to me is lawns, green spaces are all triggered by activity. We can't be doing barbecuing in here. So the question is, what are the things we could do? And it led us in a direction of morphing a lawn with an amphitheater. So it's a 25-foot tall rolling set of hills that is a natural amphitheater, and so throughout the week, throughout the days, there will be all kinds of activities: dance, performance, music, art classes. You might try out a hammock, and you might just stay a while. So that idea that the lawn is only complete when there's people in it, I think really creates a kind of contribution.
As we're sitting here and we're talking today, you hear all of the sounds of summer, all of the sounds of outdoors playing around you. And that's really one cool and unique thing about this. What are some of the things that you considered before any of this came together, when you were dreaming it up, when you were putting it together, that you needed to have to give people that feel of summer, outdoors, and the lawn?
We wanted a space that was its own world, but wasn't prescriptive. So, architects like to build and control things, and of course we wanted to create a beautiful place, but we wanted a sense of putting it in the hands of the people who are here. So there's just enough design to create that thought starter. And one of the ways to create a complete world we thought was sound. So there's a sound system that wraps around the perimeter that can move sound three-dimensionally. The sound triggers a memory. And ultimately, my goal was to create a place where you would create these deep memories. Think about great theater that you've seen. What you remember is an amalgam of many different things. And I think the same is true with public space, that this will forge memories that will last longer than the installation.
What is the experience like when it's not daytime? We're here in the daytime right now, but if you come here in the evening after the sun goes down, is it still bright and light out here like it's the daytime, or is the experience change as the day goes on?
It's totally magical at night. We were setting levels last night. The fountain is now part of this installation. We have large Mylar panels that sort of bring that light and that sound up in, and at night it's always dusk on the lawn. It has a warm light glow on the graphic wall and dappled light here, and it's going to be a great place to see a movie.
summer's over and the lawn has to close up and go away for the winter time. What happens to all of this? Is there a plan for, because that's been one of the things that you hear about with the Building Museum and these great exhibits that they do. There's usually a plan for the next step. Is there a plan for the lawn?
There's a plan for every part of it. The turf gets distributed to schools in the neighborhood, and they've already started to work that out. The furniture we're sitting in is made from reclaimed milk jugs and will be used throughout the museum. The carpet, the cloud carpet, is being reused. And the scaffolding, of course, goes back to being scaffolding. So every piece of what we're on has another life, either within the museum or elsewhere.
The owners are nervous, the dogs are in costume, and the packed crowds at the wharf can't get enough. It's all part of the highly entertaining 8th annual Running of the Chihuahuas. Take a look. With participants as varied as their owners, it was hard to know just what to expect at the 8th annual Running of the Chihuahuas. Some had an entourage. Some were dressed to impress. And for many, the chaotic competition is strictly a spectator sport.
The first year we hoped we would have 20 dogs, and we had about 60 show up. And then it's just grown from there. We're at 128 racers today. So what's great is it's always been for charity. So all the money that the racers pay to race goes directly to Rural Dog Rescue.
Any pointers you'd give to prospective racers about how to make it to the top here at the Running of the Chihuahuas?
I would say train early, train often. The biggest thing is making sure the dog understands that he's running to the person at the other end of the track.
Turns out that's easier said than done. Most of the excited runners were interested in just about everything but the finish line. How many dogs do you have racing today? 2 dogs?
Gigi and Bruno.
How'd the first dog do?
She was down there sniffing. She wasn't running.
She didn't run. She didn't know. She decided, you know what? Oh, it's a lot. It's very intimidating. Win or lose, these die-hard Chihuahua fans had nothing but love for their racers. Is Ernesto the winner?
No, we wish he was. He's our winner in our heart.
Still a winner.
Yes.
Oh, you did great, Ernesto. In the end, it was a confident Chihuahua named Tigo that won the day. So is this Chewy's first annual Chihuahua run?
Yeah, it is his first time.
Now, I have to tell you that I've talked to some of the winners, and a lot of the winners have experience. So don't give up on Chewy. No.
Definitely won't. We're going to train a little bit and be back next year for sure.
And for the rest of the cute contenders, there's always next year.
You were in the lead. You can use that all the time as your back.
Coming up, it's a tennis tournament with the best views in the city as the Castles head to the roof of Union Market. Now this is a place to take in a tennis match. No, over here. Up a little more, right here. That's right, we're on the roof of Union Market. And this is where the 2019 season for the Washington Castle, DC's professional tennis team is gonna play out.
We're thrilled to have the Castles here and to have this called home for them. There's 2 major things that are going on right now in society. The first is, what does that intersection between retail, sports, and entertainment look like in really driving and strengthening community relations? That's what Union Market is about. It's about bringing people together, building those relationships, and sports seem to be a really important component of that was missing. And the second thing is, in our society right now, we need people to look up. Everybody's looking down, everybody's focused on what's in their hand instead of looking up and looking around. And so what better way to get people to look up than to actually bring them up to the rooftop here at Union Market.
What was sort of the unique challenges maybe in putting something like this together on top of Union Market?
Obviously, there are unique challenges that come with constructing anything on a rooftop. We're fortunate, though, that this building has been constructed in a way where it's always been set for additional vertical weight to be put on the building. The city was a terrific partner in making sure that we worked together with all the permitting, all of the design to move this through as fluidly as possible. And construction honestly took us 90 days. So it was a huge team effort with the city, our team, the contractor was fantastic, and the castles.
This is something that you're not going to see anywhere else. What's the response been from people in the community, fans, things like that, about what we have here at Union Market?
So this is a unique experience. No other professional tennis match has actually been played up on the roof. We have fantastic players here. So the reaction's been overwhelming. I think the ticket sales have gone great. I know that I personally have been overwhelmed with desire for more tickets. So I would say, as far as I can tell, it's been really just very positive and innovative. The city is always pushing itself to do things, to be a leader in building community, and I think this once again puts the city back on top of innovation.
Are there any plans for this court on top of Union Market, on top of the roof here? Are there any plans for the future, for the castle to come back and play? What is the vision going down the road for the tennis court here?
So the vision for the rooftop at Union Market is all about building community. So before we let the stadium be deconstructed, we welcome everybody to a play event. And I think you can expect that that's just setting the stage of what's to come as we move forward into a public-private park and event space here on the rooftop.
Building this, you had to have a vision to put this together and build this. How do you see this changing this area of the city and changing this area of Washington, D.C.?
Well, I think the biggest thing to us is this is a beautiful community here in Ward 5 in Northeast DC. So for us, it wasn't as much about change as it was about inclusion. This community has really included us to be a part of it and a part of the great institutions that are here. For me, it's a dream come true. So I played competitive tennis growing up. Unfortunately, my career had an end to it, unlike so many here. So for me, it's just been so much fun to watch the castles themselves, our hometown hero of Francis, of course, but also just to watch a really diverse, inclusive group of people be so engaged in the sport together.
A lot of great views of the city. Really cool place to be able to host a professional tennis event. You're seeing some of the stars of professional tennis right there, and then there's the Capitol in the background. It was probably the hottest day of the year.
It really was, and you can imagine on the rooftop. But when you watch the players, it's like they don't even notice. But and DC has become such a great city for tennis.
Really
and we have so many tennis enthusiasts. So great summer for them.
Absolutely. Well, we've enjoyed bringing you some of these features. Hopefully you've enjoyed yourself. If you want to see more, you can see all of them if you'd like to go there right now and check out YouTube, search Entertain DC. We have playlists from all of our seasons on the show, from the features on the show. I mean, you could spend probably, what do you say, the rest of your day. If it's a Saturday, maybe it's a weekend, you could spend the rest of your day.
Just hold up and enjoy everything.
All right.
See you next time.